Not long ago, a workmate asked me for advice. He was about to start with archery and he wants to know from me what he needs for it. And archery can be such a relaxing, nice activity, and it gets even more fun when you share it with others. And so I decided to make this video to help people who consider to get into it. First of all, let me say, it is not only stuff that you need, it is some good advice too. And this is what this video is made for. Let's start with the bow. A bow costs a significant amount of money, and it's better to be sure what you really want before you buy it. For a beginner, this can be a really hard decision. Let me give you some hints to make this decision easier for you. First of all, never buy your first bow in the internet. A bow that is something that you have to feel in your hands to make sure that it is really comfortable for you. The customer advice will be much better in a shop that is specialized on archery, on bows, than if you buy it in a shop where bows are just sub-assortment in their product array. So buy in an archery shop. In some stores you can rent a bow before you buy it. Later, when you buy the bow, then the cost for the rental will get offset against the price of the bow. Use such possibilities. But for your beginner's bow, do not spend too much money. You do not need all the high-tech features and materials that modern bows can have. I would recommend not to spend more than $200 for a beginner's bow. One of the most important properties of a bow is the draw weight. The draw weight defines how hard it is to pull your string back to 28 inches, which is the draw length of the average archer. With a higher draw weight, the arrow flies further, it has more power on the impact, and the trajectory gets flatter. This all sounds very good, but do not make the mistake to buy a bow with a too high draw weight. If your bow is too heavy for you, you can injure your joints and sinews. Your shooting will get a bad form, and so your results will be bad. So the question is, what is the perfect draw weight for you? If you are a pupil, so choose a draw weight between 15 and 25 pounds. For women and young people, the draw weight should be between 20 and 30 pounds. And if you are an adult man, choose something between 30 and 40 pounds. As a rule of thumb, you can say that you should never choose a draw weight that is higher than 2/3 of your maximum draw weight. You better go with a draw weight that is only the half of your maximum. Have a look on takedown bows. On a takedown bow you can remove the limbs and replace it against heavier ones, so you can adjust the draw weight of your bow according to your evolving skills. The next question is how long your bow should be. And sure, the length of the bow has something to do with personal preference, but a longer bow is much more forgiving to mistakes that the archer makes. And a beginner in archery will make mistakes, a lot of them. That does not mean that you cannot shoot accurate with a short bow, but it needs much more discipline of the archer. If you are a small person, up to 165 centimeters, so take a bow that is about 64 inches. If you are between 165 and 185, take something like 66 or 68 inches bow. And if you're really tall, so choose a bow that is 70 inches long. Finally, you have to make sure if you need a right-handed or a left-handed bow. First, let me give you some definition. A right-handed bow means that you hold the bow with your left hand and you grip your string with your right hand. A left-handed bow means the opposite. Some people say that you have to choose your bow not by your dominant hand, but by your dominant eye. So the question is, what is your dominant eye? To find out, just build a hole with your hands like this, and with both eyes open, look through the hole at a spot somewhere in the distance. And now you close one of your eyes. If you still see the spot in the distance, then the open eye is your dominant eye. Else, the closed eye is the dominant eye. There's a long discussion about this, choosing your bow by your dominant eye or your dominant hand, but this all leads to problems only if it is the case that your dominant eye is on the other side than your dominant hand. Take bows in your hand, shoot with them, and if you feel that it is comfortable for you, take this bow. The last thing I want to say about the bow is that for beginners I would suggest to take a bow with a shelf or a little arrow rest. That makes sure that you put always your arrow at the same position on your bow, and this takes out one source of mistakes that a beginner can make. The next essential thing that you really need are arrows. Buy a minimum of 6 arrows and buy 1 or 2 spare arrows, because arrows like to get buried under the grass and they like to hit stones and get broken. Nobody knows why. Your arrows have to match with the draw weight of your bow. A bow with a higher draw weight needs stiffer arrows than a bow with a lower poundage. The stiffness of an arrow is called the spine of the arrow. Ask your dealer, he can help you, hopefully. There are different materials that arrows can be made of. The simplest and cheapest is wood, and a wooden arrow can be a good choice for the beginner. Other materials are carbon, aluminum, and combinations of both. Also, fiberglass is a material that is common for arrows. A carbon arrow can be a good beginner's arrow too, because our carbon arrows are very sturdy. When you buy your arrows, don't be cheap. If you buy cheap arrows, you will buy them twice. A cheap arrow gets broken very fast and can be a security risk to you, the archer, and others. So a good, or let me say a suitable arrow costs a minimum of $8. Finally, you have to choose which kind of fletchings your arrows should have. There are usually two choices. One is real feathers and the others are these plastic vanes. For a beginner, I would recommend to shoot real feathers, especially if you shoot your bow over the shelf. You need some protection for your shooting hand. This hand that pulls the string back. Even if beginner draw weights aren't that high, the string can cause damages and irritations to your fingertips. You have normally two options. One is the glove and another is the tab. The glove is made of leather and it has no thumb or pinky finger. The fingertips are reinforced with thicker leather and you can use your hand as normal. One of the drawbacks of the glove is that it gets hot and sweaty in the summer. So let's have a look at the tab. A tab in its simplest form is a small piece of leather that gets slipped over your middle finger. It is cheap, it is simple, and compared to the glove, I think that the pressure distribution to the string is a bit better, and the tab you can make even by yourself. There are a lot of tutorials for making such things in the internet. Both the tab and the glove help the archer to let the string glide softly from the archer's hand in a hopefully constant manner. You need some more protection when you start with archery, and I'm talking about your inner forearm of your bow arm. Inexperienced archers often have the problem that the string slaps against their forearm and makes there more or less intense bruises, depending on the draw weight and how often the string slapped against the arm. So you need an arm protector. A bigger arm protector is often better, and beside your own protection, such a protector can hold away your sleeve, keep it out of the way of the bowstring, and this removes one source of mistakes from your shooting. Let me say some words about targets. Targets are everywhere in this world, but not every target is as good as another. Some targets are too hard, like stones, so that they can break your arrows, or like wood, where it is very hard to get your arrows out of it after the shot. Some targets are too soft, so that the arrow goes right through it, and later you find them somewhere in the landscape, or you do not find them. Choose your targets wisely. You can buy targets, and you can make targets by yourself. You can fill a bag with old clothes or with foil. That's a good target. Or buy one that is made of compressed straw. They are cheap. If you want to shoot in the nature on stumps and things on the meadow, there is another option that you have. Screw a so-called judo point into your arrow. This is a judo point, and such a judo point reduces the energy that the arrow applies to the target. And with this you can shoot even on hard stumps, and as a side effect your arrow won't get buried under the ground anymore. Every equipment needs some care, and so your bow does. It's a good idea to wax your string of your bow on a regular basis. For waxing your bowstring, there are such applicators. They look like lip balm. The bowstring wax is made from beeswax and some secret ingredients nobody knows. You simply rub it into your bowstring, and this protects us from moisture and keeps the fibers together. Do this often. You cannot overwax your bowstring, and this will repay with a long endurance. If you're not using your bow, unstring it. If you ignore this, your bow will get weaker over time. And for stringing or unstringing your bow, use a bow stringer. I will show you how this works. This is the bow stringer, a string, and at the end there are these pieces of leather. You put the first piece of leather on one end of your bow, like this. On the other side you put your bow stringer like this. And now I'm sure there will be people that show you different ways to string and unstring your bow. But these ways come with the possibility to damage your limbs of your bow. So do not risk this. Use a bow stringer. Never leave your bow in a hot car. Hot temperatures can weaken or even damage your bow limbs. And now some final but important words. A bow in the hands of an inexperienced person can be dangerous. Never underestimate the kinetic energy of an arrow. Even a youth bow can be deadly. Inform yourself about safe bow shooting. There are many pages in the internet that address this topic. And maybe you want to join a local archery club. Benefit from the knowledge of others and share your own thoughts. Archery can be wonderful, but it gets even better when you share it with others.